Welcome or welcome back to my channel and welcome to my October wrap-up. We're going to talk about every single book I read in the month of October. I didn't read a ton in October, but I did get some really good books in this month. I got a new 5-star, which is actually one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. And I do also have some books on the other end of the spectrum where I really did not like them at all. So we're going to talk about all of that. Let's actually start with my 5-star read from this month. I'm just very ready to talk about it. This is The Nightengale by Kristin, which I actually found a reading vlog for this book. It's not up yet. It'll be up next week. So if you want to see all my live in-depth thoughts about this book, you should subscribe and watch that video next week. But this was definitely a 5-star read. I finished this book and just immediately started bawling. Like I was laying in bed about to go to sleep, just crying my eyes out because this book tore me apart. Which if you don't know anything about The Nightengale or Kristin, this is a historical fiction book set in World War II and you're following two different women. They're both sisters. One is a bit older and then one is younger, and they had very different pasts throughout the war. But you follow them both closely and you really just get connected to them and their life and their family and all of that. And obviously everything that happened during World War II was just absolutely devastating. So this book in turn was absolutely devastating. And honestly in the beginning of the book, like they would just kind of have like random moments of sadness, and I was waiting for like the hard-hitting sadness to hit me, and I did cry throughout the book, but the ending I was done for. I was so sad, but in the best way possible. And apparently Kristin is very much known for writing sad books, and I see it now. This was my first book from her. Absolutely amazing. I also just really appreciate the way that this was written. I really liked it. You can see this is a pretty thick book. It did not feel like a thick book to me at all. It felt like the pacing was very nice, very smooth. I just very much liked it. So if you like historical fiction, and even if you don't, I would give this book a try. I also read some spookier books this month, just books with the undertone of the spooky vibe, because it was October and I just felt like that was very fitting. I read Phantasma mostly because so many people were saying that this is a good spooky season book because it's got like ghosts and ghouls and devils and all of that kind of stuff in this book. This is a romantasy and it's very, very, very much a romantasy. Like, let me tell you, for me, my romantasies, I like mostly fantasy with like a subplot of romance. This was just very much straight romantasy. Like a lot of romance in this book. It also had some spice in here, so if you don't like that, you're not gonna love this. And I will say, I liked this book until it got to the spicy part, and then it was just too much. It was like all the time and I was just over it. This is supposed to be a duology, I believe, or maybe it'll be a full blown out series. I'm not entirely sure, but I definitely will read the next book that comes out. And I honestly keep changing my rating on this book because I'm really not sure what to rate it, because like I said, it was really just the spice that was holding me back, and you could just skim those scenes, but it was so much of the book. And this is also another pretty thick book, so like having to skim that much of the book, it's like, is it really worth it? I don't know. So I think right now I'm gonna leave it at a 3.5. But this book did teach me something about myself, and it's that I love competition in fantasy books, because this we follow two sisters. Again, interesting little theme here, but the two sisters, it's Ophelia and I don't know her sister's name, but her sister goes into Phantasma to try to win the family some money because they're struggling financially, and Ophelia follows her in because she wants to save her sister. She doesn't want her sister to die in Phantasma because Phantasma is known for being a very deadly competition. I will say, the twist got me. I did not expect that at all in this book, and for some reason I wasn't expecting a twist at all either, but maybe that's because at some points it kind of felt like almost very low stakes, which is weird because it's like her life is on the line, and at the same time it felt like low stakes. I don't know. I do recommend this for spooky season. Honestly, you can read it at any point, but the ghosts and ghouls and things like that was just fun for this book in October. And if you like romantasy, I think you'll really, really, really like this one. I am just kind of particular about my romantasy. That's why I only gave this a 3.5. Going along that same line, on the spooky side of things, I also read The Perfect Place to Die, which is actually based on a true story, which I didn't know going into that, which is important to know that I didn't know going into that, because even though I didn't know that this was based on a true story, I still found it unbelievably predictable, which is so upsetting because this is like a little mystery thriller. It might be YA, I'm not entirely sure. It did very much read YA. It was also just a very short and easy read. Oh my gosh, wait guys, this is another book following two sisters. Wild. 3 books in a row we're following two sisters. I think that this is the last book I read in October where it follows two sisters, but that's weird that I talked about them all back to back like that. Anyways, you have two sisters, and the younger sister moves to Chicago without the older sister, and she just kind of falls off the face of the earth. And the older sister's like, I know she wouldn't just randomly stop communicating with me unless there was something going on. So the older sister goes to Chicago to find her younger sister, but she uncovers like this crazy mystery and just crazy stuff is going down in Chicago, which is also wild that this was based on a true story. Like, I can't believe that this actually happened. But like I said, it was very obvious to me, like the twists at the end, and just so much of it was very predictable to me, which maybe at some point I have read about the story and I just like forgot about it until I read it. I don't know, but I found it too predictable, which is why I rated it a 2.5. I was just very much disappointed, unfortunately. unfortunately, because I do like a good thriller mystery book. And then I gave Mr. Riley Sager another shot. I read one of his books before and I didn't like it. I think I rated that one a 2-star or maybe 2.5. It's because his twists, I'm realizing, are just like so out of left field sometimes. Like even in this book, I don't think anyone would have guessed it, and that is a good thing. Like bonus points to you, Mr. Sager, for that. Like I don't want to be able to guess the twist. I don't know, the twist just very much made it feel like the first half just meant nothing, which is wild. So for the longest time I was going back and forth on my rating on this book as well, just because I was like, the twist obviously didn't get me at all, but also at the same time it might have just ruined the book, which is exactly how I felt with The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. Literally same exact thing with the twist, just kind of felt like it almost ruined the book for me. But I think I am gonna give this 3.5 stars, and that is mostly because I kept thinking about this book even after I finished it, which is not normal for me, and maybe it does deserve a better rating than 3.5, and I would still obviously recommend it. Like 3.5 is not bad, but like I said, the twist just got to me. I didn't like it, and I'm still disappointed in the twist, but I'm still also thinking about the book, so it's like, what? I have such a love-hate relationship with this book. I just don't know how to feel about it, to be honest. But let me also tell you what this book is about. We follow Maggie, whose dad just passed away, and she finds out that her dad had held onto this house that they lived in when she was a kid that her dad also wrote a book about. So basically her and her family are all famous for the crazy things that went down in this house because her dad wrote this book about it that ended up becoming a bestseller, and her life kind of just flips upside down as soon as her dad dies. She's dealing with all of those kind of things, and yeah, it was very spooky, a little bit supernatural if you like that in your books, which I didn't think I would. Also, this is my first ever book that is considered horror. I've read YA horror, which honestly I kind of like because it's not too spooky. In this book, I thought that I was going to be way too scared to read it like at nighttime, but I wasn't, which was good. It was like the perfect amount of like, I was a little bit spooked but not too scared. Like I could still sit down and read it and it was fine. And then I read another Kristin Hannah book. This is Night Road, which this book kind of has multiple sides to it, a different point of view as well. So you follow the kid and then you also follow the mom, but you're in the mom's thoughts and point of view a lot more than I was expecting you to be, because in the beginning of the book you follow the children a lot more because you actually start out the book learning about one of our main characters and how she's gone through foster care. This was another sad book. Like I said, Kristin Hannah is known for her sad books, but this one fell a little bit flat for me, especially compared to the Nightengale, because that one was just so amazing, so good. This one I found to be a little bit predictable, but I also think that this is one of her newer books. Well, hold on, not newer, I guess it's technically one of her oldest books. Like, pretty sure this is one of the books that she wrote kind of early on in her career. I'm not entirely sure, I might have actually just made that up, but I just found it a bit too predictable. Like something pretty major happens in the book that changes literally the whole plotline of the book, and I guessed it in the first chapter of the book, and I don't know if that was supposed to be that obvious or not, but the way Kristin Hannah writes, it's literally a masterpiece. Like her writing is absolutely unbelievable. It is so good. And so even though I did guess part of the book, I still very much enjoyed it because of the way that she wrote things. So I'm gonna give this a 3.5 star because, like I said, the writing is absolutely phenomenal. It makes me want to read every single one of the books that she's ever written, and I'm actually shocked that I've gone this long without reading a single Kristin Hannah book. Like I can now create a Kristin Hannah fan club. Just me, myself, and I. And then I also want to talk about the nonfiction book that I read this month. If you've been following along, you know I've been trying to read a bit more nonfiction, and this book I actually have been reading for a very long time. This is Mindfulness, an 8-week plan for finding peace in a frantic world. And honestly, it's basically what the title is telling you. It's an 8-week plan focused on mindfulness, which I actually love mindfulness, and I found that love through this book. So if mindfulness is something you're thinking about practicing, or mindfulness is something that you want to get into, anything like that, I definitely recommend this book. It was very good. I will say though, it is hard to stick to the 8-week plan. Like I had been reading this book on and off for the longest time, and then I finally finished it. Oh, you know what I also finished this month? My Goodreads 2024 reading challenge, which is so exciting. My goal was 100 books and I finished that this month, and it's definitely the most I've read ever in a single year, I'm pretty sure. And then I also read 1,000 Boy Kisses. I actually listened to this book and I rated this a 3-star. Listen, I know that this is a very loved book, and this is one of the OG book talk books, I feel like it is at least. And I will say I did very much enjoy it. It was a bit cringy and a bit cheesy at times, which I don't know, kind of comes with the territory of it being a romance book, but I could not get over the fact how young they were, especially because of what happens in the first couple of chapters of the book. It made me so unbelievably uncomfortable. I was like, you are literally 15 years old. You're literally 15 years old. I could not get that out of my head for the entire book. Like, this is also a second chance romance, so you start out and they're 15 years old, and then you come back and I think they're they're about to turn 18, which honestly it would have been better for me, at least mentally, if they were 18 in the beginning of the book and then like 20 in the last half of the book, because they were just way too young, especially like I said, because of what happens when they're 15 years old. I was like, how, what? You're writing this? This is weird. This is weird to me. I just couldn't get over that. But like I mentioned, this is a second chance romance. You're following Poppy and Rune, and it is a very sweet romance. I really just could not get over what happened in the beginning of the book, so I don't know if I would recommend this, or I'm also just shocked that no one has talked about what's happening in the beginning of the book. At least I had never heard discourse about it, but also like I obviously didn't want anything spoiled for me, and I'm not gonna spoil anything for you either. But it was just weird for me. I don't know. I don't think... I also want to quickly mention a couple books that are on my November TBR. Now that we're in November, I really want to start reading some more of the books that are on my 2024 TBR, like my year-long TBR. I also want to do a couple rereads, and I want to get through some more series that I've started but just never finished. So that's mostly what this TBR is. I have The Scorched Trials, which is the second book in the Maze Runner series, and you can see I started this book I think when I was in middle school, and I just never finished it. I don't know why. Especially because I remember loving the Maze Runner, so not sure why I never finished this book. And then I also want to read Daisy Haynes. This is the second book in the Magnolia Parks universe, which is very much Gossip Girl coded. At least I feel like it is. It reminds me so much of Gossip Girl. I love Gossip Girl, and at the same time Gossip Girl reminds me of the fall. So I feel like I should read these while it's chillier out. And then I want to read Scarlet, which is the second book in the Lunar Chronicles, and it's another reread for me. I just remember being obsessed with these books when I was younger, and I want to see what the hype was about because I obviously don't remember at this point, but I used to love these books so much. And then I also want to read The 7-Year Slip because this was my favorite book from 2023, and I actually want to go back in and annotate this, which is funny because I never annotate my books, but recently I have a couple books specifically from high school that I've annotated, and I flipped through them recently, and I'm just like, this is a time capsule of all my thoughts, and I love that so much that I want to annotate this book specifically because, like I said, it was my favorite book from 2023. And then another one of my favorite books from 2023, this is Happy Place by Emily Henry, and honestly I probably should have reread this in the summer, but I just was not thinking about it. But now that it's getting towards the end of the year, for some reason I just really want to reread this book, so I'm going to. I don't think I'm going to annotate this, but maybe if I'm really in the mood I will, because like I said, I don't normally annotate my books. I'm also in the middle of 3 books right now, so I'll share with you which 3 books I'm in the middle of. I'm almost done with 1,000 Broken Pieces. I'm literally 90% of the way through the audiobook, so I'm definitely gonna finish that soon. And then I just started The Great Alone by Kristin Hannah. I literally am like 1 chapter into this book, so I've barely started it. And then I'm about 25% of the way through Fifth Avenue Glamour Girl, which I'm really enjoying right now, but I need to pare it down. Like, why am I in the middle of 3 books right now? I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But that is my November TBR in a nutshell. Don't hold me to any of these books because these are just books that are on my radar. But let me know what you want to see from me in the month of November. Thank you all so much for watching. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!